Hey guys, tonight we slip into the gaslit streets of Victorian London, where sleep is a fickle guest in your creaky, drafty bedroom. You toss on a lumpy mattress, the distant clatter of horse hooves mocking your wide awake eyes. Insomnia isn't just a personal gripe here, it's practically a cultural obsession. The Victorians, bless their overstarched souls, are desperate for shut-eye, and they're throwing everything at it. Potions, gadgets, even moral lectures. You're about to dive into their weirdest cures, some of which oddly worked. Fair warning, though, you probably won't survive a single night of their restful routines without questioning your life choices. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Picture yourself in 1870, sprawled in a chilly bedroom on the edge of London's sooty sprawl. The air smells faintly of coal smoke and damp wool. Your nightgown, itchy, floor-length, and buttoned to the chin, feels like a straitjacket. Sleep should be simple, right? Just close your eyes and drift. But no, your mind's racing, replaying the day's chores, that awkward tea with Mrs. Pritchard, and the butcher's bill you can't quite pay. Insomnia's a plague in this era. Fact, doctors like William Banting, a celebrity physician, estimate 1 in 3 urban Victorians struggles to sleep, blaming overtaxed brains from city life. No Netflix to zone out home to, no white noise apps, just you, a flickering candle, and a brain that won't quit. The quirky bit? Some swear by tying onions to their feet to draw out sleeplessness. No joke, you're meant to slice a raw onion, strap it to your soles, and waddle to bed, smelling like a stew. Does it work? Historians still argue whether this was placebo or just distraction from counting sheep. Spoiler, you'll try weirder stuff before this night's over. For now, you're desperate. The apothecaries open late, and whispers of opium-laced tonics float through the fog. But before you chase that hazy fix, you need to understand the stakes. Victorians don't mess around with sleep. They treat it like a science, a moral duty, even a class marker. A good night's rest proves you're disciplined, godly, and not some shiftless factory hand. Fail, and you're practically a social pariah. You glance at the clock, 1 a.m. Its ticks loud as hammer strikes. The house creaks like it's mocking you. Joke number 1. If Victorians had Fitbits, they'd cry at their 0-minute sleep scores. You're not alone, though. From aristocrats to scullery maids, everyone's chasing slumber. The difference? The rich can afford fancy cures, while you're stuck with home remedies and prayers. Your neighbor, Old Man Jenkins, swears by warm milk and treacle mix, says it's soothing as a hymn. You're skeptical, but you'll try anything once. The night's young, and London's insomnia epidemic is about to drag you through its strangest solutions. First up, setting the scene. Your bedroom's all wrong, and the Victorians have opinions on how to fix it. Let's tweak the vibe and see if sleep creeps closer. You're still awake, sprawled in your Victorian bedroom, the candle now a stub, casting jittery shadows on the wallpaper's faded roses. The air's heavy with that coal dust tang, and your nightgown's still trying to strangle you. Sleep's a distant dream, but the Victorians are obsessed with perfecting the bedroom to lure it back. You're about to overhaul your space, guided by their oddly specific rules. Picture yourself shoving furniture, airing linens, and maybe, joke number one, praying the room doesn't smell like last week's mutton stew. Let's set the scene for slumber, their way. First, the bed. It's a beast, a four-poster with a horsehair mattress that feels like lying on a sack of doorknobs. Mainstream fact, Victorian sleep manuals, like Dr. William Whitty Hall's 1861 Sleep, insist your mattress must be firm to discipline the spine. Soft beds, sinful, lazy, and sure to keep you tossing. You check yours. Yep, hard as a church pew. Good start. But the bedding's another story. Your sheets are damp from London's eternal fog, and the wool blankets itch worse than your nightgown. Hall's book demands crisp, dry linens, changed twice weekly. You sigh, picturing the laundry pile. Still, you fling open the window, letting in a chilly gust. Fresh air's non-negotiable. Victorians believe miasmas, bad air, cause everything from insomnia to cholera. Now, the quirky tidbit. Some manuals swear by hanging a wet sheet across the room to purify the air. You're skeptical. Doesn't that just make everything clammy? But you drape a sheet anyway, and now your bedroom looks like a haunted laundry. Historians still argue whether this was about humidity control or just another weird placebo. Either way, the room feels different, cooler, maybe. You're not sold, but you're desperate. Next, light. Your candle's too bright, and moonlight sneaking through the curtains. Victorians are militant about darkness. They'd laugh at your modern phone screen. Joke number two. Imagine them yeeting your glowing device into the Thames. You snuff the candle and pin up thicker curtains, plunging the room into inky black. It's eerie, but promising. The silence, though, not so much. The city's alive with distant cartwheels and drunkards singing off-key. You stuff cotton in your ears, per a tip from the ladies' magazine. It muffles the noise, but now you hear your own heartbeat. Great. Temperature's the final piece. Victorians love it cold, around 55 degrees, says Hall, to brace the nerves. Your room's already freezing, so you skip the fire. But you're shivering, so you layer on another blanket, defying the no cozy rule. Revel move. The setup's complete. Firm bed, dry sheets, wet sheet flapping like a ghost, pitch dark, earplugs, and a temperature that'd make a penguin wince. You crawl into bed, hopeful. Is sleep closer? Maybe. But your mind's still buzzing, and the apothecary's opium rumors are tempting. Before you go there, let's pause. Joke number 3. If this bedroom prep doesn't work, you'll trade your soul for a modern box fan. For now, you lie back, breathe the purified air, and wonder if the Victorians knew anything at all. You're still in your Victorian bedroom, the wet sheet sagging in the corner, your earplugs making every breath sound like a storm. The room's dark, cold, and smells faintly of damp linen, but sleep's still playing hard to get. Your mind stuck on that apothecary down the street, where whispers of opium promise a hazy escape from insomnia. Let's wander into the murky world of opium-based sleep aids, where relief comes with a side of danger. Brace yourself. You're about to dip your toes into a remedy that's equal parts soothing and sketchy. Joke number 1. If this goes wrong, you'll be napping till next Tuesday. Opium's everywhere in Victorian England. Mainstream fact, by the 1860s, Britain's importing tons of it from India, and it's in everything. Cough syrups, baby soothers, and yes, sleep tonics. You pop into the apothecary, its shelves crammed with bottles glinting under gaslight. The clerk, all whiskers and squinting eyes, slides you a vial labeled Godfrey's Cordial. It's opium dissolved in treacle, marketed as a sleep miracle. You're told to mix a few drops in water before bed. Sounds simple, right? You take it home, swirl it into a glass, and sip. It's sweet, warm, and whoa. Your eyelids droop like they've got weights. The world softens, London's clatter fades, and you're floating. Sleep's knocking, and it feels divine. But here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians swear by smoking opium for insomnia, not just drinking it. Picture you in your nightgown, puffing a tiny pipe like a budget Sherlock Holmes. It's rare. Most stick to tonics, but dens in East London cater to this niche. You try it, hypothetically, because yikes, and the smoke curls, heavy and floral, lulling your brain into a fog. Does it work? Historians still argue whether smoking beat liquid opium for sleep or just made you dream of dancing teapots. Either way, it's not exactly a bedtime routine you'd pitch to your mum. The catch? Opium's a slippery slope. That drowsy bliss comes with nausea, sweats, and a nagging itch to take more tomorrow. You're not hooked yet, but you see why apothecaries do brisk business. Joke number 2. Victorians didn't need Netflix binges. They had opium to ruin their mornings. You push the vial away, uneasy. The stuff works, no question. But at what cost? Doctors like Thomas Dormandy, writing later, note, thousands got addicted, from poets to housewives. You're not ready to join them. Still, the memory of that floaty haze lingers, tempting you to sneak another sip. For now, you're back in bed, the room's chill seeping into your bones. Opium's off the table, too risky. But the apothecary's got other tricks. Herbal teas, less dicey, but just as weird. Joke number 3. If opium's the devil's lullaby, maybe chamomile's the angel's yawn. You're curious, ready to trade the heavy stuff for something lighter. Let's head back to that shop and see what's brewing. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The opium vial, stashed far from temptation. Its sweet haze, a memory you're trying to shake. The room's still cold. The wet sheet in the corner now feels like a soggy prank, and sleep's as distant as ever. You're done with risky potions, so you trudge back to the apothecary, your boots splashing through London's muddy streets. This time, you're after something gentler. Herbal teas, the Victorians' go-to for coaxing slumber without the opium fog. Picture yourself sniffing jars of dried leaves, hoping for a miracle brew. Joke number 1. If these teas don't work, you'll steep your socks instead. The apothecary's a jungle of scents. Lavender, chamomile, and something that smells like a wet dog. Mainstream fact: Victorian herbalists, following texts like Nicholas Culpeper's 1653 Complete Herbal, swear by plants to calm overwrought nerves. You grab a pouch of chamomile, a staple since Roman times, praised for its apple-like scent and mild sedative kick. Back home, you boil water on your tiny hearth, the kettle hissing like it's annoyed. You steep the chamomile, and the steam curls, warm and floral, softening the room's coal dust edge. Sipping it, you feel a subtle looseness in your shoulders. It's not opium's knockout punch, but it's nice. You sink into bed, hopeful, though your mattress still feels like a pile of bricks. Now, the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians mix in valerian root, a herb that smells like old gym socks, but supposedly works wonders. You're brave, so you try it, pinching your nose as you brew. The taste? Like drinking a forest floor. Still, your eyelids droop and your thoughts blur. Historians still argue whether valerian's effect was chemical or just the exhaustion of choking it down. Either way, you're drifting closer to sleep than you've been all night. Joke number 2. Valerian's so rank, it scares insomnia away. But it's not just chamomile and valerian. The apothecary pushed lemon balm and passion flower too, claiming they soothe the spirit. You try a blend, and it's oddly zesty, like a garden party in your mouth. The warmth spreads, and you're almost ready to forgive this era's obsession with weird fixes. Almost. Because here's the rub. These teas take time, and you're impatient. Plus, you're up every hour to, ahem, visit the chamber pot, thanks to all that liquid. Joke number 3. Victorians didn't cure insomnia. They invented the midnight bathroom sprint. You're back in bed. The tea's glow fading. The herbs helped, but sleep's still teasing you. A shadow just out of reach. Maybe it's time to revisit the apothecary's darker shelf. Laudanum, opium's sneaky cousin, keeps winking at you. Let's see if its promises hold up, or just drag you deeper into Victorian weirdness. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The chamomile tea's warmth, a faint memory, and that valerian aftertaste still haunting your tongue. The room's dark, the wet sheet in the corner sagging like a defeated ghost, and sleep's still dodging you like a pickpocket in a London alley. Those herbal teas were a nice try, but you're craving something stronger. Something the apothecary's been whispering about, laudanum. It's opium's slicker cousin, and you're about to wade into its dreamy, dangerous haze. Picture yourself measuring drops by candlelight, praying you don't overdo it. Joke number 1. If this stuff's too strong, you'll wake up in 1890. Laudanum's a Victorian superstar. Mainstream fact. By the 1870s, pharmacies sell it like candy, with brands like Batley's sedative solution flying off shelves. It's opium dissolved in alcohol, sometimes spiced with cinnamon or saffron, and it's billed as a cure-all. Headaches, nerves, and yes, insomnia. You snag a bottle, its label promising restful slumber. Back home, you pour a few drops into a glass of water, as instructed. The liquid's dark, syrupy, with a bitter edge that makes your nose wrinkle. You sip, and oh, it's like sinking into a velvet cloud. Your limbs grow heavy, the room's edges blur, and London's endless clatter, cartwheels, shouting hawkers, fades to a hum. Sleep's not just knocking, it's kicking the door down. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians take laudanum with a sugar cube, like they're fancy tea drinkers. You try it, popping a cube in your mouth and chasing it with a drop. It's weirdly decadent, like a dessert that could ruin your life. Does it work better? Historians still argue whether the sugar was for taste or a placebo to make you feel posh. Either way, you're floating, your itchy nightgown no longer a torture device. You crawl into bed, the horsehair mattress almost bearable, and let the haze take over. For the first time tonight, you're not counting ticks of the clock. But laudanum's no fairy tale. That blissful drift comes with a price: dizziness, nausea, and a creeping need for more. You're not addicted yet, but you get why poets like Coleridge and everyday clerks got hooked. Joke number 2. Laudanum's the Victorian equivalent of doom scrolling. Feels great till you're a mess. You shove the bottle under the bed, vowing to ration it. The apothecary warned you, too much, and you're not waking up for breakfast, or ever. Still, the sleep it gave you was deep, almost too deep, like diving into a pond with no bottom. You're stirring now, the haze lifting, the room still cold, the wet sheet still ridiculous. Laudanum worked, but it's a gamble you're not keen to repeat nightly. Maybe it's time to try something less intense, like sticking to a proper bedtime routine. Joke number 3. If laudanum's a sledgehammer, maybe a schedule's a gentle nudge. Let's see if the Victorians' obsession with timetables can tame your restless nights. You're slumped in your Victorian bedroom, the laudanum's velvet grip fading, leaving a dull ache behind your eyes. The room's still a chilly cave, that wet sheet in the corner, mocking your efforts, and sleep's slipped away again, like a guest who left without saying goodbye. You're done with druggy haze for now, too much like flirting with a bad idea. Instead, you're turning to something the Victorians love: rigid schedules. They swear a strict bedtime routine can wrestle insomnia into submission. Picture yourself clock watching, every move planned to the minute. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll schedule a nap with the Queen. Victorians are timetable fanatics. Mainstream fact: books like The Family Physician, 1865, insist on fixed sleep hours, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for adults, to regulate the animal spirits. You're skeptical but game. You start at 9 p.m., brushing your hair exactly 100 strokes, as Godey's Lady's Book advises, to calm the scalp. Your arms ache, and your reflection in the cracked mirror looks unimpressed, but you persist. Next, you wash your face with cold water, bracing, not soothing, and change into a fresh nightgown, still itchy but less suffocating. By 9:30, you're reading a psalm, another must-do to purify the mind. The words blur, not from sleepiness, but boredom. Still, you stick to the plan. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians insist on facing east while sleeping, claiming it aligns you with the sunrise's vital energies. You drag your bed, cursing the squeaky floorboards, until your pillow points east. Does it help? Historians still argue whether this was spiritual nonsense or a nod to ancient geomancy. You're not feeling vital, just annoyed, but you climb in, hoping the universe notices your effort. The routine's relentless. No snacks, no chatter, just a march to bed by 10 sharp. You blow out the candle, and the dark feels heavier, like it's enforcing the schedule. The problem? Your brain's not on board. The clock ticks louder than ever, each second a reminder you're still awake. You try counting backward from 100, another trick from the manuals. By 47, you're distracted, replaying that awkward chat with the baker. Joke number 2. Victorians didn't need insomnia. Their schedules were stressful enough. You stick it out, lying still, willing sleep to come. And maybe it's working. A yawn creeps in. Your limbs soften. The routine's dullness is its own kind of magic, lulling you by sheer monotony. But it's not enough. By midnight, you're staring at the ceiling, the east-facing bed, feeling like a bad joke. The schedule's a start, but you need more. Maybe a nightcap, booze, not tea, could tip the scales. Joke number 3. If schedules fail, a glass of something strong might just salute you to sleep. Let's sneak downstairs and see what's in the pantry. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The east-facing bed, a pointless gesture. The rigid schedule fizzling like a damp firecracker. The room's still cold. That wet sheet in the corner, now a symbol of your sleep-deprived despair. The clock's ticking past midnight, each chime a jab at your failure. You're done with timetables. They're about as soothing as a tax audit. Instead, you're creeping downstairs, your nightgown swishing, to raid the pantry for a Victorian nightcap. Booze, not broth, is the plan. Something to nudge you into slumber. Picture yourself pouring a sneaky glass by candlelight, hoping it's not just wishful thinking. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll toast to insomnia itself. Victorians love their alcohol for sleep. Mainstream fact. Medical texts like the Domestic Guide, 1870, recommend a small glass of port or brandy before bed to settle the nerves. You find a dusty bottle of sherry in the pantry, its label peeling but promising fortifying rest. You pour a thimbleful, the amber liquid catching the candle's glow. It smells sweet, like raisins and regret. You sip, and it's warm, spreading a soft glow from your chest to your fingertips. Your shoulders loosen, and the house's creaks don't seem so loud. You settle into a creaky chair, sipping slowly, imagining you're some posh lord, not a sleep-starved nobody. Sleep's peeking around the corner, teasing you with a yawn. Now, the quirky tidbit. Some swear by hot toddies, whiskey, honey, and hot water, claiming it's better than any apothecary potion. You're curious, so you heat water on the hearth, mix in a splash of whiskey from a hidden flask, and stir in a dollop of honey. The steam smells like a cozy tavern, and the first sip is a hug in liquid form. Does it beat sherry? Historians still argue whether toddies worked via alcohol or just the ritual of making them. Either way, you're sinking deeper into the chair, your eyelids heavier, the world softer. Joke number 2. If toddies were Olympic events, Victorians would have swept the podium. But there's a hitch. The sherry's glow fades fast, and the toddy's making you sweat, not sleep. You're tipsy, sure, but still awake. And now you're worried about tomorrow's headache. Booze is a shaky bridge to slumber. Cross it too often, and you're stumbling into dependency. You set the glass down, half empty, and trudge back to bed. The mattress is still a torture device, but the alcohol's dulled its bite. You lie there, the room spinning just enough to be annoying. Joke number 3. Victorians didn't solve insomnia. They just got drunk and called it rest. Maybe it's time to try something less intoxicating. The apothecary's shelves had those bizarre patent medicines. Let's see if their bottled promises hold up. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the sherry and hot toddy's warm buzz fading, leaving you groggy but stubbornly awake. The room's still a chilly shrine to bad ideas. That wet sheet in the corner now looks like it's judging you. The clock's ticking past 2 a.m. Each talk a reminder you're losing this battle. Booze was a bust, and you're not crawling back to laudanum's haze. Instead, you're eyeing the apothecary's other offerings. Patent medicines, those colorful bottles promising instant sleep. Picture yourself squinting at labels, hoping for a miracle without the hangover. Joke number 1. If these don't work, you'll bottle your own tears and sell them. Patent medicines are Victorian snake oil, but they're everywhere. Mainstream fact. By the 1880s, brands like Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup dominate, with ads in every newspaper claiming to cure insomnia, nerves, and probably bad dancing. You snag a bottle of Dr. Seth Arnold's balsam, its label boasting peaceful slumber for all. It's a murky mix of herbs, alcohol, and who knows what, smelling like licorice and regret. You measure a teaspoon as directed and swallow. It's syrupy, coating your throat like a bad decision. Within minutes, your head feels fuzzy, not opium fuzzy, but close. You sink into bed, the horsehair mattress less offensive now. The world slows, and sleep's shadow creeps closer, whispering promises. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some patent medicines include cannabis tinctures, dubbed Indian hemp for exotic flair. You try a drop of cannabis indica elixir, a trendy pick among posh insomniacs. It's bitter, earthy, and makes your thoughts wobble like a loose cartwheel. Does it work? Historians still argue whether cannabis was a legit sleep aid or just a placebo with better marketing. Either way, you're drifting, your nightgown's itch fading, the room's chill less biting. You're not knocked out, but you're closer to sleep than you've been all night. Joke number 2. If cannabis elixirs were on X today, they'd trend with had Victorian vibes. The downside: these bottles are dodgy. Some are just booze in disguise. Others hide morphine or worse. You're lucky. Your balsam's mostly harmless, but the fuzzy head's not sustainable. Plus, the cost stings. 6 pence a bottle. Half a day's wages. You tuck the elixir away, wary of its pull. It worked, sort of, but you're not sold on chugging mystery syrups nightly. The apothecary's full of tricks, though. Maybe it's time to ditch liquids and try something mechanical. Those weird sleep gadgets you've heard about. Joke number 3. If bottles fail, maybe a contraption will crank you to dreamland. Let's head back to the shop and see what's ticking. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the patent medicine's fuzzy glow wearing off, leaving you blinking at the ceiling. The room's still cold. That wet sheet in the corner, now a soggy monument to your sleep quest. It's past 3 a.m., and the clock's ticks are practically laughing at you. Those bottled promises, balsam, cannabis, whatever, were a half win, but you're tired of swallowing weird brews. Now, you're curious about the apothecary's other shelf. Hypnotic devices. Victorians love their gadgets, and you're ready to test some odd contraption that claims to zap or tickle you into sleep. Picture yourself wrestling with wires and springs, hoping for a snooze. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll invent a steam-powered lullaby machine. Victorian tech is all the rage. Mainstream fact: by the 1870s, inventors like George Beard promote electrotherapeutic devices for insomnia, claiming they calm nerves with mild currents. You pick up a pulvermacher's galvanic band, a belt with tiny metal discs that supposedly sends soothing pulses. It's 2 pence. Ouch. But you strap it around your waist, feeling like a budget Frankenstein. You twist a knob, and a faint tingle crawls up your spine. Not painful, but weird, like ants marching in slow motion. You lie down, the horsehair mattress still a foe, but the tingling distracts you. Your breathing slows, and sleep feels possible. The gadget's hum is oddly calming, like a mechanical cricket. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some swear by magnetic sleep caps, cloth hats lined with iron filings to align brain waves. You try one, looking like a nightcap from a mad scientist's closet. It's heavy, and you're skeptical. Does it even do anything? Historians still argue whether these caps were pure placebo or tapped into early biofeedback ideas. Still, the weight on your head feels grounding, and you're yawning, maybe from the cap or just exhaustion. You keep the galvanic band on, too, doubling down on tech. Joke number 2. If this works, you'll pitch it to Elon Musk's great-granddad. But there's a catch. The band's tingle gets annoying, and the cap's making your scalp sweat. Plus, you're paranoid about sleeping with wires. Victorians didn't exactly ace electrical safety. You unplug, reluctantly, and the room feels emptier without the hum. The gadgets helped, sort of, pushing you closer to sleep's edge. But they're not a cure. You're back in bed. The east-facing setup and chamomile vibes from earlier mocking you. Maybe it's time for something less mechanical, more mystical. Hypnotism's making waves in London's parlors. Joke number 3. If magnets and shocks fail, maybe a stranger's voice can charm you to sleep. Let's find a mesmerist and see if their spell sticks. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The galvanic band's tingle gone. The magnetic cap tossed aside like a bad fashion choice. The room's still a cold, dark cave. That wet sheet in the corner, now a limp reminder of your sleep struggles. It's nearing 4 a.m., and the clock's ticks feel like a countdown to defeat. Gadgets were a fun distraction, but you're still wide awake, the horsehair mattress poking you like it's personal. Now, you're chasing a new lead. Mesmerism, the Victorian hype for hypnotic sleep. Picture yourself in a dimly lit parlor, a stranger's voice trying to lull you into dreamland. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll hypnotize the clock to shut up. Mesmerism's a big deal in 1870s London. Mainstream fact, pioneered by Franz Mesmer decades earlier. It's reborn as a sleep aid, with practitioners like John Elliotson claiming it calms nervous agitation. You find a mesmerist in a nearby townhouse, his parlor stuffed with velvet cushions and a creepy portrait of a staring owl. He's all sideburns and soft-spoken charm, promising to guide your soul to rest. You sit, skeptical but desperate, as he waves his hands in slow circles, murmuring, "Sleep, sleep." His voice is low, rhythmic, like waves lapping ashore. Your eyelids flutter, your shoulders sag, and the room's edges soften. It's not laudanum's haze, but it's something. Your mind's quieter, like London's noise got turned down. You're drifting, closer to sleep than you've been all night. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some mesmerists use passes over a glass of water, claiming it absorbs sleep-inducing vibes. You try it, sipping the charged water. It tastes like water, but the ritual's oddly soothing, like a bedtime story for grown-ups. Does it help? Historians still argue whether mesmerism tapped into psychology or was just theatrical nonsense. Either way, you're sinking into the chair, the owl portrait less creepy now. Joke number 2. If this guy's voice were on Spotify, You'd loop it all night. But there's a hitch. The trance fades when you leave the parlor, and by the time you're back in bed, your brain's buzzing again. Mesmerism's great with a guide, but you can't afford nightly sessions, and self-hypnosis isn't a thing yet. You try mimicking the mesmerist's murmurs, whispering sleep to yourself, but it just feels silly. Still, the memory of that calm lingers, a hint of what's possible. You're back on your mattress, the east-facing setup and tea rituals from earlier feeling like ancient history. Maybe it's time to rethink the bed itself. Victorians have weird ideas about bedding. Joke number 3. If hypnosis fails, maybe a better mattress will stop this nightly wrestling match. Let's dig into their sleep science and see what's up. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The mesmerist's soothing murmurs, a fading echo, leaving you staring at the cracked ceiling. The room's still cold, that wet sheet in the corner, now a soggy badge of your sleep-deprived saga. It's past 4 a.m., and the clock's ticks are practically heckling you. Hypnotism was a nice detour, but you're still awake, wrestling with the horsehair mattress that feels like it's fighting back. Maybe the bed itself is the problem. Victorians are weirdly obsessed with bedding science, so let's dive into their mattress and pillow fixes to see if a better setup can finally coax sleep. Picture yourself fluffing straw and dodging feathers, hoping for a snooze. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll sleep on the floor and call it avant-garde. Victorians take beds seriously. Mainstream fact. Sleep manuals like Edwin Lee's 1871 Health and Comfort preach that mattresses must be firm to support moral vigor. Soft beds are for the weak-willed, apparently. Your horsehair mattress fits the bill, hard as a board, stuffed with prickly curls that jab through the sheet. You try replumping it, shaking the stuffing to even it out, per Lee's advice. It's exhausting, and the dust makes you sneeze, but the bed feels marginally less hostile. You swap the lumpy straw pillow for a newfangled feather bolster, which is softer but smells faintly of barnyard. You lie down, and it's better. Not great, but the feathers cradle your head, and the mattress's stabby bits are less aggressive. Sleep's not here yet, but you're not cursing the bed anymore. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians stuff mattresses with dried seaweed, claiming its marine essence soothes nerves. You track down a seaweed-stuffed pad from a coastal vendor, and oh, it's weird, springy, with a faint, briny whiff. Does it work? Historians still argue whether seaweed was a legit sleep aid or just a fad for rich eccentrics. You give it a go, and the bouncy texture's oddly calming, like sleeping on a gentle wave. Your body sinks, the room's chill less biting, and you're yawning, maybe from the bed or just sheer fatigue. Joke number 2. If seaweed's the answer, you'll move to the beach and nap on kelp. But there's a catch. The seaweed bed's pricey, and the smell's not for everyone. Your neighbor swears it's like sleeping in a fishmonger's cart. Plus, feathers keep poking through the bolster, prickling your cheek. You tweak the setup, layering a wool blanket for extra padding, defying the firm is best rule. It helps, and you're closer to sleep, your body less tense. But the clock's still ticking, and your mind's wandering back to that opium vial under the bed. No, you're staying strong. Maybe it's time for something less physical. Superstitions, perhaps. Joke number 3. If beds don't work, maybe a lucky charm will trick sleep into showing up. Let's explore the Victorians' weird bedtime rituals next. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The seaweed mattress, a strange but not terrible addition, though its briny whiff still lingers. The room's dark, cold, that wet sheet in the corner, now a soggy relic of your sleep quest. It's nearing 5 a.m., and the clock's ticks feel like a taunt, daring you to stay awake. The new bedding helped, but your mind's still racing, dodging sleep like it's a tax collector. You're done with gadgets and potions for now. Maybe it's time for something less tangible. Victorian sleep superstitions. They've got bizarre rituals to invite slumber. So let's try their quirky charms and see if luck brings rest. Picture yourself muttering spells and hiding shoes, hoping for a snooze. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll charm the mattress into being less stabby. Victorians love their folklore. Mainstream fact: books like The English Housekeeper, 1861, list bedtime rituals to ward off restless spirits that supposedly cause insomnia. One rule: never sleep with your head under the covers. It traps bad dreams. You pull the blanket off your face, half expecting a ghost to wink at you. Next, you place a Bible under your pillow, a common trick to guard the soul. It's lumpy, but the weight's oddly grounding, like a hug from a stern vicar. You whisper a quick prayer, per the book, asking for repose. The room feels quieter, maybe from the ritual, or just your own exhaustion. You're not sold, but you're yawning, so something's working. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some swear by hiding a shoe under the bed, sole up, to trap nightmares. You grab your worn boot, muddy from London streets, and tuck it beneath the mattress. Does it help? Historians still argue whether this was pure superstition or psychological comfort, like a grown-up security blanket. Either way, the act's soothing, and you're picturing nightmares getting stuck in the shoe like flies in honey. You lie back, the seaweed bed bouncy, the Bible a gentle lump. Your eyelids droop, and sleep's shadow feels closer, like it's finally curious about you. Joke number 2. If shoes catch bad dreams, you'll start a nightmare shoe store. But there's a hitch. Superstitions are flimsy. Your brain's still half awake, wondering if you place the shoe right. Plus, the Bible's digging into your neck, and you're paranoid about wrong rituals inviting bad luck. You adjust, shoving the book lower, and try another trick, counting stars through the window to bore the mind. The fog's too thick for stars, so you count ceiling cracks instead. It's dull, and that's the point. You're drifting closer to sleep than you've been. But dawn's creeping, and you're not there yet. Maybe it's time to consult the experts, doctors with their own odd insomnia fixes. Joke number 3. If charms don't work, maybe a physician's lecture will bore you to sleep. Let's see what the medical men prescribe. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the shoe under the bed, and Bible under your pillow doing their best. But sleep's still dodging you like a sly fox. The room's dark, the wet sheet in the corner, a droopy monument to your endless night. It's past 5 a.m., and the clock's ticks are practically chanting your defeat. Superstitions were a quaint try, but your brain's too stubborn to fall for shoe-trapped nightmares. Now, you're turning to the experts, Victorian doctors with their stethoscopes and questionable advice. Picture yourself in a stuffy office, a physician preaching insomnia, cures that sound half genius, half lunacy. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll diagnose the doctor with bad idea-itis. Victorian medicine is a mixed bag. Mainstream fact: doctors like Sir James Clark, writing in the 1860s, blame insomnia on nervous exhaustion from city life and prescribe rest, diet, and weird therapies. You visit Dr. Finch, a local physician with a beard like a hedge. He insists you take a daily air bath, standing naked in your room for 10 minutes to invigorate the skin. You try it, shivering as the chilly air bites, feeling like a plucked chicken. It's bracing, and your heart races, which Finch claims resets the nerves. Back in bed, you're oddly refreshed, the seaweed mattress less annoying. Your eyelids droop, and sleep feels like it's circling, curious but not committed. The air bath's strange, but it's got a spark of promise. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some doctors swear by rubbing your spine with a silk cloth to draw out sleepless humors. You borrow a silk scarf from your cousin and give it a go, dragging it along your back. It's ticklish, and you're giggling like a fool, but the sensation's oddly calming, like a gentle massage. Does it work? Historians still argue whether this was early nerve stimulation or just a placebo wrapped in fancy fabric. Either way, you're yawning, the room's chill less biting, and the Bible under your pillow feels less like a rock. Joke number 2. If silk saves you, you'll wear it to bed and call it pajamas. But there's a catch. Dr. Finch's advice is patchy. Air baths are freezing, and the silk trick's hard to do solo. Plus, he's pushing pricey tonics you've already ditched. You're back in bed, the east-facing setup and chamomile days feeling like a lifetime ago. The doctor's ideas nudged you closer to sleep, but you're not there yet. Maybe it's time for something wetter. Hydrotherapy's the new doctor-approved craze. Joke number 3. If air baths fail, maybe a cold dunk will shock you into dreamland. Let's see what water cures have in store. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The silk scarf trick, an air bath, leaving you chilly and still awake. The seaweed mattress creaking under you. The room's dark. That wet sheet in the corner. Now a sad, soggy flag of defeat. It's nearly 6 a.m., and the clock's ticks are a relentless reminder you're still in this fight. Dr. Finch's advice was half-baked, and you're done with his quirky fixes. Now, you're chasing another Victorian obsession. Water cures. Hydrotherapy's the latest doctor-approved trend, promising sleep through cold soaks and wet wraps. Picture yourself shivering in a tub, hoping a dunk will finally knock you out. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll bathe in chamomile and call it a day. Hydrotherapy's huge in the 1870s. Mainstream fact, pioneered by figures like Vincent Priesnitz. It's endorsed by doctors like John Forbes, who claim cold water rebalances vital energies for insomnia. You head to a local bathhouse, its tiled walls echoing with splashes. The attendant, a stern woman, with hands like shovels, hands you a sheet and points to a tub of icy water. You're to wrap yourself in the wet sheet, then lie in a warm blanket for an hour. You grit your teeth, drape the freezing cloth over your skin, and waddle to a cot. It's torture at first. Your teeth chatter, your toes curl, but then the blanket's warmth kicks in, and your body feels heavy, like you're sinking into the earth. Back home, you try a simpler version, a cold foot bath before bed. The chill shocks your system, but your head's quieter, and the seaweed bed feels almost cozy. Sleep's peaking, closer than it's been. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some swear by douche baths, where a pipe sprays cold water on your spine to jolt nerves to rest. You try it at the bathhouse, standing under a freezing stream. It's like being slapped by winter, but your heart slows and your mind blanks. Does it work? Historians still argue whether this was early stress relief or just masochistic nonsense. Either way, you're yawning, the room's coal dust air less heavy, and the Bible under your pillow less lumpy. Joke number 2. If douches cure insomnia, you'll install a waterfall in your bedroom. But there's a catch. Hydrotherapy's not practical nightly. Tubs are a hassle, and you're not rich enough for a private bathhouse. Plus, the cold's left you sniffling. You're back in bed, the east-facing setup and laudanum haze from earlier, feeling like distant dreams. The water cure nudged you closer to sleep, but dawn's glow is creeping through the curtains. Maybe it's time to rethink sleep itself. Victorians tie it to morality of all things. Joke number 3. If water fails, maybe a sermon will guilt you into slumber. Let's explore their odd link between virtue and rest. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The cold foot baths chill, lingering in your toes. The seaweed mattress creaking as you shift. The room's still dark, that wet sheet in the corner, a soggy testament to your sleepless odyssey. Dawn's light is sneaking past the curtains, and the clock's ticks, nearing 6:30 a.m., mock your exhaustion. Hydrotherapy was a shivering step forward, but sleep's still out of reach, taunting you like a mirage. Now, you're diving into a weirder Victorian obsession, the link between morality and sleep. They think a virtuous life guarantees rest. So let's explore their preachy sleep rules. Picture yourself clutching a prayer book, hoping goodness lulls you to dreamland. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll confess to the mattress and beg for mercy. Victorians are wild about moral health. Mainstream fact. Writers like Catherine Beecher in her 1869 American Woman's Home argue that pure thoughts and a godly routine ensure sound sleep, while sin, gossip, idleness, or worse, breeds insomnia. You start by following Beecher's advice. No late-night chatter or frivolous reading. You ditch the penny dreadful under your bed, swapping it for a dull sermon on charity. You read aloud, your voice soft, the words droning like a lullaby. It's boring, and that's the point. Your eyelids droop, and the room's coal dust air feels less oppressive. You kneel for a quick prayer, another Beecher must do, asking for peaceful repose. The act's calming, like a ritual from those superstition days with the shoe and Bible. Sleep's shadow creeps closer, and you're almost hopeful. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians believe sleeping on your right side aligns you with divine harmony, while the left side invites chaotic dreams. You roll to your right, the seaweed mattress, bouncy but cooperative. Does it work? Historians still argue whether this was spiritual hogwash or a nod to early physiology. Right side sleeping might ease digestion. Either way, the position feels natural, and your breathing slows. The east-facing bed from way back finally paying off. You're drifting, the sermon's drone echoing in your head. Joke number 2. If sleeping right saves your soul, you'll snooze like an angel with a side cramp. But there's a catch. This moral stuff's heavy. Guilt creeps in, as you recall snapping at the baker yesterday. Beecher's rules feel like a test you're failing, and the pressure's keeping you awake. You try focusing on pure thoughts, picturing calm meadows, but your brain sneaks back to unpaid bills. The right side trick helps, but it's not enough. You're back in bed, the feather bolster from the bedding saga, a small comfort. Dawn's glow is stronger now, and you're running out of time. Maybe it's time for another tech fix. Electricity's the new craze. Joke number 3. If virtue doesn't work, maybe a spark will zap you to sleep. Let's see what electrified cures await. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the right side sleeping trick, and moral musings fading, leaving you staring at the ceiling's cracks. The room's still cold, that wet sheet in the corner, a droopy relic of your sleep-deprived quest. Dawn's light is pushing through the curtains, and the clock's ticks, nearing 7 a.m., feel like a final jab. The whole virtue equals sleep thing was a nice try, but your brain's too restless for sermons. Now, you're chasing a new Victorian fad, electric sleep aids. They're buzzing in London's shops, promising to shock your nerves into slumber. Picture yourself fiddling with wires, hoping a spark does what prayers couldn't. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll plug the mattress into the Thames. Electricity's the hot new thing. Mainstream fact. By the 1870s, doctors like Alphonse David promote electrotherapy for insomnia, using devices like the electric brush to send mild currents through the body. You snag one from a chemist, a clunky gadget with a wooden handle and metal bristles. It's pricey, half a week's wages, but you're desperate. You sit on your bed, the seaweed mattress creaking, and brush the device over your arms. A faint buzz hums, like bees trapped in a jar, and your skin tingles, warm and alive. Your shoulders loosen, the room's chill less biting, and your eyelids droop. It's not mesmerism's trance, but it's close. Your mind quiets, and sleep feels like it's peeking through the fog. You keep brushing, the rhythm soothing, like a mechanical lullaby. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some swear by electric pillows, pads wired to a battery that hum under your head. You try one, borrowed from a posh neighbor. It's heavy, faintly warm, and buzzes like a distant storm. Does it work? Historians still argue whether these were early biofeedback tools or just fancy placebos. Either way, you're sinking into the feather bolster, the Bible still tucked beneath, and the buzzing pillow's vibe is oddly calming, like a cat purring on steroids. You're yawning, the east-facing bed and chamomile tea from ages ago feeling like ancient history. Joke number 2. If this pillow's the key, you'll sleep wired up like a telegraph station. But there's a catch. The brush's tingle gets old fast, and the pillow's battery dies mid-hum, leaving you stranded. Plus, You're paranoid about sparks. Victorian wiring's dodgy, and you don't fancy waking up on fire. You unplug. The silence loud after the buzz. The electric fix nudged you closer to sleep, but dawn's here, and you're still awake. Maybe it's time to rethink what you're eating. Victorians have odd diet tips for sleep. Joke number 3. If sparks don't work, maybe a weird snack will bore you to dreamland. Let's raid the pantry and see what's on the menu. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The electric pillow's buzz gone silent. Its wires tangled like your hopes for sleep. The room's still cold. That wet sheet in the corner, a soggy ghost of your endless night. Dawn's light floods the curtains, and the clock's ticks past 7:30 a.m. mock your bleary eyes. Electricity was a tingly tease, but you're still awake, the seaweed mattress creaking under your restless shifts. You're done with gadgets for now. Maybe it's what you're eating or not eating that's keeping sleep at bay. Victorians have peculiar diet fixes for insomnia, so let's raid the pantry and try their odd food tricks. Picture yourself nibbling strange snacks, hoping a full stomach lulls you to dreamland. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll eat the wet sheet and call it fiber. Victorians are big on food as medicine. Mainstream fact. Doctors like Thomas King Chambers, writing in the 1860s, claim heavy, starchy meals before bed anchor the nerves for sleep. You head downstairs, the floorboards creaking, and rummage through the pantry. Chambers recommends bread and cheese with a glass of warm milk, simple, filling, and supposedly soporific. You slice a crusty loaf, smear it with cheddar, and heat milk on the hearth. The cheese is sharp, the bread chewy, and the milk's warmth spreads like a hug. Back in bed, your stomach's content, and the feather bolster feels cozier. Your eyelids droop, the room's coal dust air less heavy, and sleep's shadow creeps closer, like it's finally curious. The meal's weight grounds you, and you're yawning, closer to rest than you've been. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some swear by eating raw onions at bedtime, claiming they purify the blood and calm nerves. You're skeptical. Remember those onion-soled feet from way back? But you try it, crunching a slice like it's an apple. It's pungent, your eyes water, and your breath could scare a horse. Does it work? Historians still argue whether onions were a folk remedy or just a way to distract from insomnia. Still, your head feels heavy, maybe from the onion's bite or just exhaustion. You lie back, the seaweed bed bouncy, the Bible under your pillow a familiar lump. Joke number 2. If onions cure insomnia, you'll sleep with a vegetable wreath. But there's a catch. The cheese and bread sit like a brick, and the onions repeating on you, making your stomach gurgle. Milk's nice, but you're up for another chamber pot trip. Thanks, Victorian plumbing. The diet helped, sort of, but it's not a knockout. Dawn's fully here, and you're running out of time. Maybe it's the air in the room. Victorians are obsessed with ventilation. Joke number 3. If food fails, maybe a breeze will blow you to sleep. Let's crack a window and see what fresh air does. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the onion's sharp aftertaste lingering, the bread and cheese weighing you down like a bad decision. The room's still dark, that wet sheet in the corner, a soggy symbol of your sleepless saga, though you're tempted to rename it Old Soggy for morale. Dawn's light is now a full-on glow, and the clock's ticks, nearing 8 a.m., are practically jeering. The diet trick was a heavy tease, but your gurgling stomach and restless mind refuse to quit. Now, you're turning to another Victorian fixation. Airy bedrooms. They swear fresh air is the key to sleep. So let's crack a window and see if a breeze can finally usher you to dreamland. Picture yourself wrestling with a stubborn sash, hoping oxygen works where onions failed. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll sleep in a windstorm and call it therapy. Victorians are air obsessed. Mainstream fact: health reformers like Florence Nightingale, in her 1860 Notes on Nursing, insist bedrooms need constant ventilation to flush out morbific matter that causes insomnia. You shove open the window, its frame groaning, and a chilly gust sweeps in, carrying whiffs of coal smoke and horse dung, London's finest. Nightingale says to keep it open all night, even in winter, so you wedge a book to hold it. The air's crisp, cutting through the room's stale, coal dust haze, and your lungs feel clearer. You crawl back into bed, the seaweed mattress creaking, the feather bolster a soft nest. The breeze rustles the curtains, and your breathing slows, syncing with the rhythm. Sleep's shadow feels closer, like it's riding the wind, and you're yawning, the Bible under your pillow less intrusive. The fresh air's working, sort of, making the room feel alive. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians hang a ventilation charm, a cloth soaked in lavender water, near the window to sweeten the air. You try it, dunking a rag in lavender from the apothecary and tying it to the curtain rod. The scent's floral, cutting the city's grime, and it's oddly soothing, like a garden snuck indoors. Does it help? Historians still argue whether this was aromatherapy or just a placebo with better branding. Either way, you're sinking deeper into the bolster, the east-facing bed from way back finally feeling right. Joke number 2. If lavender saves you, you'll wear it like cologne and nap in flower beds. But there's a catch. The open window's freezing, and you're shivering despite the wool blanket. Plus, London's fresh air isn't exactly pure. Coughing on coal dust isn't restful. You adjust, pulling the blanket tighter, but the chill's keeping you alert. The lavender's nice, but sleep's still teasing, a step away. Dawn's bright now, and time's slipping. Maybe it's time to try something cerebral. Victorians say dull reading can bore you to sleep. Joke number 3. If air fails, maybe a boring book will knock you out cold. Let's grab a tome and test it. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The lavender-soaked cloth flapping by the open window. The chilly air making your teeth chatter despite the blanket. The room's brighter now. Dawn's glow flooding past the curtains, and that wet sheet in the corner, old soggy, looks ready to retire. The clock's ticks, pushing past 8:30 a.m., are a cruel reminder you're still awake. The seaweed mattress creaking with every restless shift. Ventilation was a breezy hope, but the coal dust air and shivers kept sleep at bay. Now you're trying a new Victorian trick. Boring literature to dull your brain into slumber. Picture yourself flipping through a dusty book, praying monotony works where lavender failed. Joke number 1. If this doesn't work, you'll read the dictionary and nap on Z. Victorians love tedious reading for sleep. Mainstream fact: advice manuals like The Art of Home Comfort, 1872, suggest unexciting texts, sermons, crop reports, or legal journals to quiet the intellect. You grab a tome from your shelf, a treatise on corn laws, a 300-page snorefest about grain tariffs. You prop it on your chest, the feather bolster cradling your head, and start reading by candlelight. The prose is dense. The author droning about wheat yields like it's poetry. Your eyes glaze, the words blurring, and the room's coal dust tang fades. It's not thrilling, exactly the point. Your eyelids droop, the seaweed bed feels less bouncy, and sleep's shadow creeps closer, like it's bored too. You're yawning, the Bible under your pillow a familiar lump, and the east-facing setup from ages ago feels almost cozy. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some swear by reading aloud in a monotone to exhaust the voice and speed up sleep. You try it, your voice flat as you mumble about barley quotas. It's awkward, like lecturing a ghost, but the rhythm's hypnotic, like a chant. Does it work? Historians still argue whether this was early self-soothing or just a way to annoy neighbors. Either way, your throat's tired, your mind's fuzzy, and you're sinking deeper into the bolster. Joke number 2. If corn laws save you, you'll narrate tax codes for a living. But there's a catch. The book's so dull, it's almost irritating, and your candle's burning low, making the tiny print a strain. Plus, reading aloud wakes you up just enough to notice the window's chill. You set the book down, frustrated, and pull the blanket tighter. The monotony helped, pushing you closer to sleep's edge, but you're not there. Dawn's light is harsh now, and time's running out. Maybe it's time for another remedy. Homeopathy's gaining steam, with its tiny pills and big promises. Joke number 3. If books fail, maybe a speck of magic dust will knock you out. Let's visit the apothecary and see what's in those vials. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the treatise on corn laws abandoned on the floor. Its dull pages no match for your stubborn insomnia. The room's bright with dawn's light. The wet sheet, old soggy, slumped in the corner like a tired mascot. The clock's ticks, nearing 9 a.m., jab at your frayed nerves, and the seaweed mattress creaks as you shift. Boring books were a yawn-inducing tease, but your brain's still buzzing, refusing to let sleep win. Now, you're chasing another Victorian trend, homeopathy, with its tiny pills promising big sleep. Picture yourself squinting at a vial of specks, hoping less is more. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll swallow a sugar cube and call it science. Homeopathy's sweeping 1870s London. Mainstream fact. Pioneered by Samuel Hahnemann, it's backed by doctors like John Epps, who claim ultra-diluted remedies, like one drop in a lake's worth of water, fix insomnia by rebalancing energies. You visit the apothecary, its shelves now familiar, and grab a vial of Coffea cruda, a homeopathic prep made from coffee beans, ironically meant to calm. The pills are pinhead-sized, and you're told to dissolve 3 under your tongue. You do it, tasting faint sweetness, and wait. The ritual's soothing, like a placebo with a doctor's blessing. Back in bed, the feather bolster soft, the lavender breeze from the window mixing with the seaweed bed's briny whiff. You feel a subtle calm. Your pulse slows, the room's dawn glow less harsh, and sleep's shadow tiptoes closer, like it's intrigued. You're yawning, the Bible under your pillow a quiet anchor. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some homeopaths prescribe nux vomica, derived from a poison nut, claiming it soothes overwrought minds. You try a dose, rolling the tiny pellets in your mouth. It's tasteless, but the idea of poison as cure is wild. Does it work? Historians still argue whether homeopathy's effects were psychological or just well-marketed sugar. Still, your eyelids droop, the east-facing bed from way back feeling right, and you're sinking deeper, the room's chill less biting. Joke number 2. If poison nuts save you, you'll snack on arsenic for breakfast. But there's a catch. The calm's fleeting, your brain's still half awake, replaying the onion fiasco or that mesmerist's owl portrait. Homeopathy's gentle, but it's no knockout, and the vials aren't cheap. You tuck them away, wary of another dud. Dawn's turning to morning, and you're desperate. Maybe it's time for a pre-bed ritual. Victorians love elaborate baths. Joke number 3. If pills fail, maybe a soak will drown your insomnia. Let's heat some water and see if a tub works wonders. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the homeopathic pellets faint buzz fading, leaving you blinking at the dawn-lit ceiling. The room's brighter, old soggy, the wet sheet, slumped in the corner like a defeated flag, and the seaweed mattress creaks with every toss. The clock's ticks, pushing past 9:30 a.m., sting your weary eyes, and sleep's still dodging you like a street hawker. Homeopathy was a gentle nudge, but your brain's too stubborn to surrender. Now, you're turning to another Victorian obsession: elaborate bathing rituals before bed. They swear a good soak can wash away insomnia, so let's heat some water and see if a tub can lull you to dreamland. Picture yourself sinking into warm water, hoping it's not another soggy letdown. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll bathe in laudanum and call it a spa day. Victorians are bath enthusiasts. Mainstream fact: hygiene manuals like The Habits of Good Society, 1872, claim nightly baths, warm, not hot, calm nerves and prep the body for sleep. You drag a tin tub to the hearth, filling it with water heated in kettles. It's a chore, your arms aching, but you add a splash of lavender oil, remembering that ventilation charms floral kick. You ease in, the water's warmth wrapping you like a blanket, easing the chill from that open window. The lavender scent mixes with the seaweed bed's briny whiff, and your muscles loosen. You lean back, the feather bolster swapped for a folded towel, and your breathing slows. The room's dawn glow softens, and sleep's shadow creeps closer, like it's tempted by the steam. You're yawning, the Bible under your pillow, a distant thought, and the east-facing bed feels like it's waiting for you. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians add oatmeal to baths, claiming it soothes the skin and mind. You toss in a handful, and the water turns milky, feeling like liquid silk. It's weird, like bathing in porridge, but your skin tingles and your mind quiets. Does it work? Historians still argue whether oatmeal baths were early dermatology or just culinary nonsense. Either way, you're sinking deeper, the tub a cocoon, and you're closer to sleep than you've been all night. Joke number 2. If oatmeal saves you, you'll breakfast in the tub tomorrow. But there's a catch. The water cools fast, and climbing out into the chilly room is a shock, undoing half the calm. Plus, hauling buckets nightly is no picnic. You're not running a bathhouse. You dry off, slip into a fresh nightgown, and crawl into bed, the seaweed mattress less hostile. The bath helped, but sleep's still teasing, a whisper away. Morning's here, and time's tight. Maybe music, Victorian lullabies, can seal the deal. Joke number 3. If baths fail, maybe a tune will sing you to sleep. Let's find a melody and try it. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The lavender oatmeal bath's warmth, a fading memory. Your damp nightgown clinging as you shiver. The room's bright with morning light. Old soggy, the wet sheet, sagging in the corner like it's given up too. The clock's ticks, nearing 10 a.m., jab at your bleary eyes, and the seaweed mattress creaks as you settle in. Baths were a cozy tease, but sleep's still slipping through your fingers like fog. Now, you're chasing another Victorian sleep trick. Music, specifically soothing lullabies they swear can hush a restless mind. Picture yourself humming a tune, hoping a melody does what oatmeal couldn't. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll serenade the clock and make it snooze. Victorians adore music for health. Mainstream fact: medical journals like The Lancet, 1870s, note that soft, repetitive melodies, think harps or pianos, calm nervous excitability and aid sleep. You dig out a music box, a gift from your aunt. Its tinny notes playing a gentle folk tune, The Ash Grove. You wind it up, and the melody fills the room, delicate and slow, cutting through the coal dust air. You lie back, the feather bolster soft, the lavender breeze from the window, mingling with the seaweed bed's briny scent. The notes loop, simple and hypnotic, and your breathing slows, syncing with the rhythm. Your eyelids droop, the room's morning glow less harsh, and sleep's shadow creeps closer, like it's swaying to the tune. You're yawning, the Bible under your pillow a quiet weight, and the east-facing bed feels almost inviting. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians hire bedside singers, maids or family members, to croon lullabies for insomnia. You can't afford that, so you hum The Ash Grove yourself, your voice wobbly but earnest. It's odd, singing to an empty room, but the vibration in your chest is soothing, like a self-made hug. Does it work? Historians still argue whether singing tapped into early music therapy or was just a comforting ritual. Either way, you're sinking deeper, the music box's final notes fading, and you're closer to sleep, the room's chill less biting. Joke number 2. If humming saves you, you'll audition for the choir and nap on stage. But there's a catch. The music box stops too soon, and your humming's no match for a pro. Silence creeps back, and your brain stirs, replaying that onion fiasco or the mesmerist's owl stare. The lullaby helped, pushing you to sleep's edge, but morning's bright, and you're not there yet. Maybe it's not just one fix. Victorians talk about neurasthenia, a catch-all for nervous exhaustion. Joke number 3. If music fails, maybe naming your insomnia will bore it to death. Let's explore this diagnosis and its cures next. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The music box's last notes gone. You're humming no match for the stubborn wakefulness clinging to you. The room's flooded with morning light, old soggy, the wet sheet, slumped in the corner like a tired prop, and the seaweed mattress creaks as you shift. The clock's ticks, past 10:30 a.m., needle your exhausted eyes, and sleep's still dodging you like a sly cat. Lullabies were a sweet tease, but your brain's buzzing, refusing to let go. Now, you're diving into a Victorian diagnosis, neurasthenia, their fancy term for nervous exhaustion blamed for insomnia. Let's explore its quirky cures and see if naming your struggle lulls it to rest. Picture yourself as a frazzled patient, chasing calm. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll diagnose the clock with tickitis and smash it. Neurasthenia's a buzzword in the 1870s. Mainstream fact: American neurologist George Beard, whose 1869 work crosses to Britain, calls it a depletion of nerve force from modern life. Think gaslights, telegraphs, and too many tea parties. Doctors say it causes insomnia, and you fit the bill. Jittery, overthinking, and bone tired. Beard's cure? Rest therapy. Days of quiet, no work, and bland foods. You try it, sort of, staying in bed, skipping chores, and nibbling porridge instead of onions. The stillness is odd, like pausing London's chaos. You lie back, the feather bolster soft, the lavender breeze from the window mixing with the seaweed bed's briny whiff. Your breathing slows, the room's morning glow less jarring, and sleep's shadow creeps closer, like it's curious about your calm. You're yawning, the Bible under your pillow a steady anchor, and the east-facing bed feels almost right. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some doctors suggest phosphorus tonics, claiming they recharge nerves for sleep. You sip a chemist's mix, tasting like chalky lemons, and feel a faint warmth, maybe from the placebo or just hope. Does it work? Historians still argue whether phosphorus was a proto-vitamin or just Victorian hype. Either way, you're sinking deeper, the porridge settling, and the room's chill less sharp. Joke number 2. If phosphorus saves you, you'll glow like a firefly and nap in the dark. But there's a catch. Rest therapy's tough. You're bored, and skipping chores means a looming laundry pile. The tonic's effect fades, leaving you twitchy. Neurasthenia's real, but its cures feel like half measures. You're back in bed, the music box's tune a distant memory. Morning's turning to noon, and time slipping. Maybe it's not just your nerves. Social pressures, like late-night gossip sessions, could be the culprit. Joke number 3. If rest fails, maybe dodging Mrs. Pritchard's tea invites will knock you out. Let's tackle those disruptions next. You're back in your Victorian bedroom. The phosphorus tonic's chalky aftertaste gone. The rest therapy leaving you bored but still awake. The room's blazing with midday light. Old soggy, the wet sheet, sagging in the corner like a defeated relic, and the seaweed mattress creaks as you fidget. The clock's ticks, nearing 11 a.m., jab at your frayed nerves, and sleep's still dodging you like a street vendor with bad fish. Neurasthenia's cures were a quiet tease, but your mind's tangled in daily chaos, especially social pressures, like Mrs. Pritchard's endless tea parties, keeping you up past bedtime. Let's explore how dodging these disruptions might finally let sleep creep in. Picture yourself saying no to gossip and late nights, chasing calm. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll hide from Mrs. Pritchard in the pantry and nap there. Victorians are social butterflies, and it's exhausting. Mainstream fact: etiquette guides like the Habits of Good Society, 1872, note that late night, at-homes, and balls disrupt sleep, especially for middle-class folks like you, pressured to keep up. You decide to skip tonight's gathering at Mrs. Pritchard's, where you'd sip weak tea and dodge her nosy questions till midnight. Instead, you stay home, locking the door to avoid surprise callers. The quiet's eerie, no clinking cups, no forced laughter. You light a candle, the feather bolster soft, the lavender breeze from the window mixing with the seaweed bed's briny scent. Your breathing slows, the room's midday glow less harsh, and sleep's shadow tiptoes closer, like it's grateful for the peace. You're yawning, the Bible under your pillow a steady weight, and the east-facing bed feels like it's rooting for you. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians swear by evening solitude vows, pledging silence after 8 p.m. to preserve nerve strength. You try it, avoiding even your own thoughts. No humming, no corn law reading. The silence is heavy, but it soothes, like the mesmerist's murmurs from way back. Does it work? Historians still argue whether solitude was early mindfulness or just a posh way to sulk. Either way, you're sinking deeper, the room's chill less biting, and you're closer to sleep, the music box's tune a faint echo. Joke number 2. If silence saves you, you'll take a vow and become a hermit with a comfy bed. But there's a catch. Skipping socials risks gossip. Mrs. Pritchard's already hinting you're anti-social. Plus, the quiet makes you notice every creak, and your brain's replaying that onion foot disaster. Solitude helps, but it's not enough, and noon's looming. You're so close to sleep, you can taste it. Maybe it's time to blend the best fixes: tea, baths, music, into one ultimate routine. Joke number 3. If society fails, maybe a remix of weird cures will finally knock you out. Let's craft that perfect sleep plan next. You're back in your Victorian bedroom, the silence of your social dodge wrapping you like a soft shawl, but sleep still teasing, just out of reach. The room's bright with noon's light, old soggy, the wet sheet, slumped in the corner like a weary companion, and the seaweed mattress sighs with your every shift. The clock's ticks past 11:30 a.m. nudge your exhausted mind, and you're done chasing single fixes. Tea, baths, silence, all half wins. Now, you're blending the best Victorian remedies into one ultimate sleep ritual, hoping a mashup of chamomile, lullabies, and lavender finally seals the deal. Picture yourself orchestrating a cozy routine, crafting the perfect drift to dreamland. Joke number 1. If this fails, you'll move to Narnia and nap with talking badgers. You start with lessons from the past 24 hours. Mainstream fact: Victorian sleep manuals, like The Family Physician, 1865, suggest combining gentle remedies, herbs, warmth, and calm for cumulative effect. You brew chamomile tea, its apple-like scent a nod to that apothecary visit, and sip slowly, the warmth loosening your shoulders. Next, you run a warm lavender oatmeal bath, the tub a steamy haven from those hydrotherapy days. You soak, the milky water soothing, then slip into a fresh nightgown, less itchy than before. Back in bed, you wind up the music box, the ash grove's notes dancing with the lavender breeze from the window. The feather bolster cradles your head, the Bible under your pillow a quiet anchor, and you hum softly, echoing the bedside singers. The seaweed bed's briny bounce feels almost cozy, and you face east, that old superstition, now a habit. Your breathing slows, the room's noon glow fading behind heavy curtains, and sleep's shadow settles, heavy and warm. You're yawning, closer to rest than ever, the east-facing setup finally paying off. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some Victorians end their routine with a sleep charm, a whispered phrase to seal rest. You try it, murmuring, "Slumber come, night be kind," a line from a folk tale. It's silly, but the ritual grounds you, like the shoe under bed trick ages ago. Does it work? Historians still argue whether charms were early affirmations or just bedtime stories for adults. Either way, you're sinking, the music box's tune fading, the chamomile's glow lingering. Joke number 2. If charms save you, you'll whisper to the mattress and make it blush. But there's no catch this time. The blend, tea, bath, music, charm, works in harmony, each piece softening your edges. Your eyelids are heavy, your thoughts slow, like syrup pooling. The room's quiet, old soggy, a forgotten relic, and London's clatter is a distant hum. You're drifting, the world blurring, and sleep's no longer a tease. It's here, wrapping you gently. Now, let your shoulders sink deeper into the bolster. The seaweed bed, a soft cradle beneath you. The chamomile's warmth lingers in your chest, a quiet glow, and the music box's final notes fade into the lavender air. Picture a meadow, not London's sooty streets, where soft grass sways under a twilight sky, stars peeking through a velvet dusk. Each breath is slower, longer, carrying you further from the clock's ticks, now just a faint echo, like ripples on a still pond. The Bible under your pillow, the east-facing bed, the whispered charm, their anchors, grounding you as you float toward rest. No need to fight, no need to chase. Sleep's here, a gentle tide pulling you under. Let the room dissolve, the curtains glow dim to nothing, and the world hush to a whisper. You're safe, you're calm, and you're gone, drifting into the soft dark of a Victorian dream. Sweet dreams. Now, let your shoulders sink deeper into the bolster, the seaweed bed, a soft cradle beneath you. The chamomile's warmth lingers in your chest, a quiet glow, and the music box's final notes fade into the lavender air. Picture a meadow, not London's sooty streets, where soft grass sways under a twilight sky, stars peeking through a velvet dusk. Each breath is slower, longer, carrying you further from the clock's ticks, now just a faint echo, like ripples on a still pond. The Bible under your pillow, the east-facing bed, the whispered charm, their anchors, grounding you as you float toward rest. No need to fight, no need to chase. Sleep's here, a gentle tide pulling you under. Let the room dissolve, the curtains glow dim to nothing, and the world hush to a whisper. You're safe, you're calm, and you're gone, drifting into the soft dark of a Victorian dream. Sweet dreams.